Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today I'm going to show you how to make a dessert version of sourdough, kind of. Don't let that scare you. It's not hard. The starter is super easy to keep alive and it requires really minimal effort. And the final results are just absolutely fantastic. And the recipe is super flexible. So you're gonna wanna watch and make sure that you pay close attention. Let's dive in. Alright, first thing we got to do is make our starter. And honestly, I don't really know anything about sourdough, but I can't imagine it's this easy because this is honestly very easy. So you need a quarter cup of water. It should be around 45 degrees Celsius or 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you'll need a singular packet of active dry yeast, which should be 0.25 ounces. After you pour it on into your warm water, you're just going to give it a stir and get everything off your spoon, and then just kind of let it sit there for about 5 or 10 minutes. You got to let it bloom and wake up a little bit, and in the meantime we can get working on the next step of this process. So take your yeasty water and move it to the side, and then grab a big bowl. And what you're going to do now is take 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of just regular granulated white sugar, and you're going to plop them both in this bowl, whisk them to combine before you put any of your wet ingredients in, and just get them nice and combined. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to do plenty of mixing shortly here in the next step. So this part's pretty crucial. My yeast was technically expired by a couple of weeks, so I wasn't sure it was going to work, but you see how there's like a layer of foam here at the top of your yeast mixture? That means that the yeast is alive, it is blooming, it is good to use, and you don't need to throw it away. But if it's not doing this, you need new yeast. So now we're going to add our yeast mixture right to our bowl here, and this is going to be a case of do as I say, not as I do, because I used way too much water and forgot to dump out half of it and actually measure my quarter cup. But anyway, here goes in 1 cup of milk as well. And as I'm mixing here, you're going to be like, that's really thin for a starter mixture. And you'd be right, because I used way too much water. So I ended up kind of just adding milk and sugar until the consistency looked as I remember it should. You can see me pausing here and being like, uh-oh, I think I messed something up here. So I spent about 10 minutes after this clip, just a little bit of flour, a little bit of sugar, going back and forth to make sure that the consistency was right. But the recipe card that I have in the description is correct. Just follow that and you will not end up like me here. Alright, so this is after my little experimentation. This is what your consistency of your starter should look like. Still fairly thin. It's nothing like sourdough, but not watery like it was before. And so basically now we're going to take this mixture, divide it in 2, and just put it into 2 1-gallon Ziplock bags. You do need that extra room. It's going to seem overkill right now, but we do need to add more to these bags in coming days. So I do recommend the gallon. Anything less than that, you're going to run out of room. And the mixing it up, or splitting it up, excuse me, doesn't need to be perfect. Just try to go 50-50 into 2 separate bags as best you can. So now is kind of the fun part. After you separate your mixtures into 2 bags, literally all you do for the next 4 or 5 days is mush the bag. You're going to open the seal and just release the air like I'm doing here, and then just agitate the mixture. It gets super foamy, sometimes a little separated. All you're doing is mushing it around, and you can do that once or twice a day. No more is needed. You can do it more if you'd like to, but just like this, just kind of mush it, and yeah, it's pretty simple. For the next more than half of this process, just mush the bag. Alright, now we're at the midway point. So day 1 of this process is the day you made your starter. Day 2, 3, 4, and 5, you are just mushing that bag. On day 6 is where we're at now. You're going to add 1 cup of granulated white sugar, 1 cup of self-rising flour this time, not all-purpose, self-rising. And then lastly, 1 cup of milk. You can do whole milk. I do 2% just because that's usually what I put in my coffee and what I have in the house. Fat-free, you can if you're really being health conscious, but this is a dessert. I pretty strong advocate that if you're making a dessert, it's not supposed to be healthy. Have fun with it and make it fatty and sweet and gross, So one question I know I'm going to get is, how in the world is this safe to keep out at room temperature with the milk in it? Honestly, I don't have a scientific explanation for you. However, I have been doing this for better part of 2 years now. As soon as you mix it up, I leave it out. I'm assuming it's something to do with the yeast, but it's safe, I promise. So now we arrive to day 10. I should say day 7, 8, 9, we're mushing the bag again. Day 10, we're going to start here by adding a 1/3 cup of sugar, a 1/3 cup of self-rising flour, and a 1/3 cup of milk. Now, this addition here is so that we can take another starter out of this bag for the next time we want to bake. If you never want to do this again and you hated it, you can skip this step. Likewise, you can also add more during this addition step and actually give starters away as presents, which is something I've done numerous times. People try the bread, they love it, they want one for themselves to do the same thing. I will put those measurements in the description to figure out how much to add if you want to just have enough for yourself to bake again, if you want to give gifts, or if you never want to do it again, just don't add anything during this step. But after you add all this, again, as usual, mush that bag. And then now we are getting ready for the separating of the starter. So this time I was not making starter for anybody else. I just wanted one for the next week so that I can continue baking. So I dump all the contents of my mixture into a big bowl, and I am going to pull out 1 cup of batter, so to speak, and place this into a clean, fresh 1-gallon bag. This is now my starter for next week, and this counts as day 1 in the process. It doesn't need to be perfect, but as close to 1 cup as you can. I would not recommend going less than a cup for a starter, but you will make a mess. It's fine. A couple of drops here and there, not going to end the recipe or anything like that. And now that we are pretty much finished separating out our new starter for the week, we can get ready to start baking today. So we're going to grab our eggs at this point, and we are going to put 3 whole eggs right on into that mixture. If you want to be extra cautious, you could always crack them into a separate bowl so you avoid getting any eggshells into the mixture, but live life on the edge, as I like to say. All right, now that our eggs are in, we're going to move on to the next step, which is 1 cup of vegetable oil. You could probably do other oils if you'd like to, but the vegetable is pretty tasteless and it works well. You can also, for health purposes, sub a 1/2 cup of applesauce and a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil for the whole thing. Now we're going to move on to 1/2 cup of our 2% milk again. And then before adding any dry ingredients here, just mix all the wet stuff to combine. It does take a minute with how much oil is in there to get everything to a cohesive mixture, but just keep on course. It'll get there eventually and kind of end up looking something like this. After that, we can add a splash of vanilla extract here. And then we are going to move on to our dry ingredients. So first is going to be 1 cup of granulated white sugar. And then this is the secret ingredient here. This is going to be a family-size box of vanilla pudding mix. I believe it's 5.2 ounces. I'll put the exact number in the description. And then once again, mix all that till combined. There's a lot of separate mixing steps here because my bowl is just too small, truthfully, for this. And then lastly here, we're going to do 2 cups of self-rising flour. Again, has to be self-rising, not all-purpose, okay? You will not have a good outcome if you use all-purpose flour here. And then once again, we are going to mix to combine and then add, technically the recipe says a teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm a big cinnamon guy. I think this is probably 2 or 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, and it comes out perfectly fine and delicious. And This is one of those baking recipes that is super rare where you can kind of just wing it and do what you want with it. And then lastly, a little pinch of salt. Again, I'm not measuring it. If you want to measure, it's about a teaspoon. And then we are going to do 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and then 0.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Finally, our last attempt at mixing here. If you have a bigger bowl, you don't need to be so ginger with the mixing and take so many steps, but my bowl is too small. But when we're all done, this is the consistency it should look like. And now, the fun part, our add-ins. You don't need to add anything in here, but this week I ended up putting in a bag of dried cherries and about a half a bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips. This bread is delicious without any additions to it, and I do recommend if it's the first time you're making it, do it without any additions, just so you can try what the bread tastes like. But I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and you can't go wrong with chocolate chips. And the cherries were kind of a last minute thing because I was actually trying to buy dried cranberries and do a cranberry walnut version of this, but didn't realize that I bought cherries instead and I already had the chocolate chips. So here we are, cranberry, chocolate chip, vanilla pudding, friendship bread, something along those lines. But just mix your additions in here. Doesn't need to be crazy, just get them incorporated. And then we will need 2 bread loaf pans. This, you can technically just use one, but you will have to bake twice because this is more than enough batter for 2 loaves here. So grease your pans. And then just to the best of your ability, separate them out evenly. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. I do kind of try to level the batter out with my spatula here, just because the batter is so thick that it does kind of hold its shape in peaks pretty well. And I'm sure it would level itself out in the oven, but just for my own sanity and sake of mind, I like to try to kind of even it out with the back of the spatula when it's done. But that is pretty much all she wrote. Now we're going to throw these guys in the oven and let the magic happen. Now after 1 hour, we are done. And these guys have made my whole house smell absolutely divine. I can't tell you enough how good this bread is. It's a great present if you have a baker in the family. It's, it's not cumbersome like sourdough is. I've been given sourdough starters before, and the stress and the amount of attention they need to stay alive is just obnoxious, and I'm just not interested in it. But this, you know what? You can ignore it. And on top of that, I've also gone several days past the day 10 mark on our kind of recipe list. Like, it doesn't matter. The bread comes out fantastic either way. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's all she wrote for this one. I will see you on the next one. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and that's it. Peace!